My mother and father separated when I was 12 years old. I stayed with my mother, and ever since then, she stayed single. We didn't have much friends and family, so we literally kept ourselves to ourselves. We did everything together. We were each other's biggest comfort. Anyway, everything changed when my mother met this guy called Lucio. They were dating on and off for about 3 months. I wasn't too keen on him, due to the fact that I thought he was playing my mother. He went incognito for a couple of months and then he resurfaced, gave my mother some lame excuse about how his mother was in hospital and he didn't want to burden her with the problem. Yeah, right. I couldn't believe how gullible my mother was. She walked over to him and hugged him. As she hugged him, he smirked and winked at me. That's how I knew he was lying. I didn't buy his excuses for a second. It had nothing to do with jealousy. Far from it. You will understand why soon. I always wanted my mother to meet someone to make her happy. And he wasn't that person for sure. Before I knew it, he was moving in with us, which really surprised me because we didn't know him enough to let him live with us yet. I thought Mummy had made a big mistake. I didn't know if it was out of desperation or because she was lonely and in need of companionship. It made me furious. I felt like I was competing with this dude. Can you believe he'd only been living with us for a few months and this man tries to tell me when to go to bed? He leaves beer cans wherever he sits and then he tells me to pick them up. He interrogates my friends whenever they come around. And the way he looks at me makes me uncomfortable. I was so disappointed when my mother said I have to listen to him when he talks to me. I felt like he was turning my mother against me. I disliked him more and more every day. What happened next shocked me. And I guarantee it will shock you too. If you're liking my story so far, please consider subscribing, like it and share it with a friend or two. It helps the algorithm recognize us. Just like my mother, I was lonely. I needed someone to talk to. I knew I was looking for something, but I wasn't sure what. The moment I saw it, I knew it was wrong. But I went ahead anyway. Something popped up on my computer screen. Hi, are you a loner like me? Click this link. We can talk about anything you like. Like a thirsty deer to a waterhole filled with crocodiles, I took the risk. The person introduced himself as Charley. He said he was 16, and then he asked me to introduce myself. So I did. I was 17 years old at the time, and even though I knew I shouldn't, I still decided to play along with the person on the other side. But unfortunately for me, it backfired. Curiosity got the best of me when he mentioned that he hated his stepmother. He said she told his father that he tried to verbally abuse her whenever he's not home. I mean, I believed him because I could relate to everything he was going through. I knew how much tension that can create between a parent and a child. And I knew I was betraying my mother's trust by falling into this trap. My room was like my getaway place, away from everything. I was always there. It was like I was disconnected from my mother. So I found a new friend on the dark web. After school, I'd hurry home just to talk to Charley. I trusted him. I was even falling behind on my grades, but I didn't care. He spread the net, and like a bird, I flew right into it. Charley had me right where he wanted me, under his control. He was getting even more daring, getting me to do things I know I shouldn't. Basically, he robbed me of my innocence. He got me to show him my body on multiple occasions. But whenever I see him, he never shows his face. He told me that if I saw his face, I wouldn't want to talk to him again. He told me that all the kids at his school teased him and called him double ugly. I felt so bad for him. I really did. That didn't stop me from liking him even more. I had an argument with my mother. My anger was on another level. I told her what I thought about her new guy, and he was standing right next to her. I could see how hurt he was, but I didn't care one bit. My mum was so angry, she sent me to my room. I happily went, sat on the bed with my laptop, and messaged Charley. It took him a while to reply, but when he did, I poured my heart out to him. He was so understanding and supportive. He agreed with everything I said. He told me that he had the same experience with his dad choosing his girlfriend over him. Little did I know, he was just trying to gain my trust, reeling me in like a fish caught on a hook. He told me I should try to give Lucio, my stepdad, a chance, and that I should start apologizing to him to avoid any tension in the air. I told Charley that I thought it was a good idea, but I wasn't ready to do that just yet. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something sinister about my stepdad. The way he walked around the house in his briefs, and the way he purposely hugged my mum whenever I was around and looked at me and winked while he did it, as if to say, she's mine now. Charley told me that his dad and stepmother were going away that very same weekend. He asked me if I wanted to come to his house for a few hours on Saturday. I was super happy and nervous at the same time. He told me he'd give me the address on Saturday morning once his parents had left, and told me not to mention it to anyone, not even my closest friends. I thought nothing of it at the time. After all, we'd been talking online for almost 2 months. We'd seen each other's private bits on many occasions. Why would I be worried? Friday evening after school, I went to the city centre to pick up a few bits, like lip gloss and deodorant. I also bought a pack of condoms, just in case things got out of hand. Please don't judge me. But if you're going to meet a guy, protect yourself. Don't leave it up to him, because anything could happen, including nothing. As I was leaving the shopping centre, I ran into my mother in deep conversation with 2 police officers. When I asked what was happening, one of the officers explained that my mother had witnessed a mugging, and they just needed to take some information from her. My mother offered me a lift home, but I told her I was meeting a friend. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited that I was finally going to meet Charley, and nervous at the same time. I couldn't shake the feeling that I should mention it to someone, but I kept telling myself that I don't have anything to worry about. I trusted him. Early Saturday morning, I heard Lucio leave the house. I went downstairs and saw my mother in the kitchen. She asked me about my plans for the day, and I just told her I was meeting a friend. She asked me, where and who? I told her that I was meeting someone from school in town. At that moment, a message popped up on my mobile. It was Charley. It read, "Are you sure you want to meet me?" I replied, yes. Then I asked him, "Are you sure that you want to?" He replied, "Yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous though." It was a relief knowing that I wasn't the only one feeling nervous. In less than a minute, he sent me his address. But there was an issue. I messaged back, "I thought you said you were living local." That's when he told me his dad had moved a few weeks ago, and he didn't think to tell me because he didn't think he was going to be seeing him anytime soon. I mean, that was understandable. It was like an hour and a half away across London, but I didn't let that put me off. I took the tube to the nearest station. When I got there, I was expecting him to be there, but he wasn't. So I messaged him. He told me that there was a taxi waiting outside for me. He sent me the registration number. I saw the car with the registration number he sent, and I took it. The driver was chatty and very funny. That kind of relaxed me, a little bit. But when I got to the address, the taxi drove straight into an open garage and the shutters came down. That's when I knew I was in trouble. Then, 2 masked men appeared from nowhere and dragged me out of the car. My stomach churned. My body felt numb. I was sweating. One of them told me if I wanted to stay alive not to scream. As they were leading me into the basement room, I heard loud banging and shouting all around the house. It was the police. They broke down both the front and the back door, and then they arrested 5 men. Lucio, my stepdad, was one of them, and the ringleader. They rescued 7 girls that night, including myself. It turned out that Lucio was the person who was talking to me online, hence the reason he didn't want to show me his face. He gave me that sad story because he knew everything about me and the right buttons to push. Stepmother, my backside. That scumbag took advantage of me. He took away my innocence. He saw me naked. Suddenly, everything was falling into place. I found out the police were investigating Lucio and 4 other men for a long time. They knew about my online conversation with Charley, aka Lucio, hence the reason they were talking to my mother. The police assured me that they were monitoring every move at all times to ensure I was safe, and things couldn't have turned out any differently. I shouldn't have kept it a secret. I should have met him on mutual ground. Hey, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, share with a pal, leave a comment or a like. It helps the algorithm recognize us, and it's free to subscribe.